Welcome back. This is Pain Information. I'm Hans Hansen, medical doctor. Interests are pain, addiction, and depression. That's PAD, right? Boarded in pain, boarded in addiction, and I treat situational depression and anxiety. So we were talking about the very interesting and very important concept of invisible pain. What's invisible pain? You can't see, touch, feel, or measure it, right? It's the most reliable thing you have, somebody's self-report. You have to have that self-report, and you have to remember the 5 rules. If you think it's entirely psychosomatic, and you don't believe in it, the diagnosis, that's rule 2. And if you don't think they really have pain, that's rule 1. Patient's description. You can't treat it effectively. And if you don't understand the meds, rule 4, you can't do rule 5, which is really where we're going. From a compassionate standpoint, I want to get rid of all your pain, but from a realistic standpoint, I mean realistically, I want to improve your function, your quality of life, better range of motion, able to sit longer, participate, and go to the grocery store even, play with grandchildren. Or in this case, I'm going to use fibromyalgia as the best example I can use with some good science behind it. I think good science. It's ever changing, and that's good. We want things to move forward. And fibromyalgia is that invisible pain. From my career's perspective, it's been thought of as neuropsychiatric, anxiety, symptom magnification, kind of making it up, catastrophizing, oh, everything's a drama. It's run the spectrum. In the early 90s, I started calling it central sensitization. In other words, there's something going on in the nervous system that muscle pain, migratory pain is a central manifestation of pain that is showing up peripherally, right? Peripherally mean out here. There's nothing wrong with the muscles. I mean, we beat up the muscles pretty good. We've done muscle biopsies, nerve conduction studies over and over. We've looked at the muscles. To put a little caveat on there, we may see a little neurohormonal stuff coming from the muscles, but the reality is, as I've talked about, pain is inside out as opposed to outside in. The central nervous system is irritated. Central sensitization is neuroinflammation. So this muscle pain is a peripheral or outside manifestation of a central nervous system problem. No, you're not crazy. That does not mean I'm crazy, right? When somebody says, look at me, I hurt, I don't feel I can do things. Well, you go to Facebook groups. I go to Facebook groups and I read what these people say because, why? It's real. And if I can do anything with the Facebook assessment is translated into a YouTube discussion that is authentic. Because if you don't do things that are authentic, and you don't come off authentic, you really don't have credibility. And the most important thing to a credible physician is the understanding that you can communicate. So, yes, I do believe you're in pain. No, I can't see it. I can't see, touch, feel, or measure it. I don't have a lab test. I don't know, there may be one coming. I don't know. It's kind of in a gray area right now. I think that you do have neuroinflammation. I'm not going to call it central sensitization. I'm going to call it neuroinflammation. And I'm going to fill a lot of buckets with fibromyalgia, irritable bowel, chronic fatigue, muscle pain, headache. What? Headaches, everybody believes headaches, they're migraines, right? You can't see, touch, feel, or measure that, usually. But everybody gets them. Take a Motrin, you take something, go away. The reality is fibromyalgia has every bit as much credibility as headaches. So I'm not going to go into a deep dive, but to fill those buckets, we have to look at the central nervous system. Yep, inside out. What's going on? Neuroinflammation. You said neuroinflammation. What's that mean? That's big words, and doctors talk with big words. Doctors don't always make a lot of sense because of big words. I agree. Neuroinflammation is when the nervous system has irritability either from the structure, the elements of the structure, or from chemicals. And chemicals either elaborated or retained, or toxins that we take in. And I think the world of fibromyalgia, interstitial cystitis, and others look at toxins as a cause, a root cause. You have to have the right diet, you can't take certain things, you got to stay away from certain things, and there's some truth to that. But remember, taking fibromyalgia and extending that concept of inside out as opposed to outside in, interstitial cystitis or bladder pain might be just that. Does it really matter what you take? Maybe. It might be inflammatory to the central nervous system, certain things. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that fibromyalgia can be improved with certain diets. I can see that. Well, what's going on? Well, there's these things called glial cells. Glial is literally meaning Latin for glue. Don't hold me to that, it might be Greek. I think it's Latin. And it was noted in the 1850s or 60s through the microscope, primitive as it was back then, we saw these little things we thought held neurons or nerve cells together, and held them all together called glue. We now know that they're much more active. There's different types of glial cells, and glial cells cause trouble, and they can clean up trouble. They can clean up toxins, they can stop toxins from getting into the brain, they can cause irritability where you wouldn't think it would. For example, sometimes if you take too many opioids, I need more opioids, I'm hurting. Opioid-induced hyperalgesia may be a secondary event from glial cells irritability. We also know that some very smart scientists, which we're going to talk about, have identified anti-inflammatory agents. I'll pick one, IL-10 or interleukin-10, as potentially a breakthrough to settle down that glial cell irritability, which may be neuroinflammation. Am I killing you? Well, we're going to work through this, but fibromyalgia can be explained in so many ways by thinking of inside out as opposed to outside in. The neurophysiology, is it important? Yeah, I think it's important. I'll tell you why, is because the more you have in your little bucket as an explanation that explains to you in your head and potentially your family members, loved ones, your healthcare providers, that you aren't crazy, that there's something there that is an evolution in progress, and probably will explain a lot of your symptoms. It just makes you feel better, doesn't it? I'm going to take it back quite a ways. In the 50s, this was starting to get understood. In the 60s, 70s / area, somewhere in there, somebody used ketamine. You hear a lot about ketamine, central nervous system effects of ketamine, and how they can really help you. And it was seen that fibromyalgia is probably real, because people that had a lot of pain from fibromyalgia, they got ketamine, they felt a lot better, and there's a reason for that. So yeah, you're not crazy. That's one. Number two, there may be a neuroinflammatory component that can be explained. Number three, it feels good to know that this is probably real and something that you can embrace, and you can say, I'm not some abnormal individual who always thinks I can't sleep, I can't retain memory, I can't think during the day, I want to do more but I can't because I hurt, I have no endurance, those little buckets can be helped. Rule 4, let's talk about some meds that may help you. Did I say low dose naltrexone? That's coming.